Hey, Nathan, can you believe that there are now 3, let's call them hyper trucks,
Okay.
that are over 100,000?
Yeah, or they can be equipped to go over 100,000. Yes, I know. It's ridiculous, but it's also really cool considering what you're getting for that money.
So in this episode, we're going to be talking about the 3 hyper trucks because we've driven and actually owned all of them now.
Yes.
Which is crazy in my mind, but
It's nuts.
But anyway, so we're going to talk about the differences between the Raptor R, the TRX, and of course the Hummer EV. So if you're out there shopping, we're going to have some great consumer advice for you. And if you're wondering where Andre's at,
Yes, he's in the middle of nowhere.
not yet.
Oh, he's not there
He's
yet?
driving to the middle of nowhere. So as you know, we've got a Ram 2500 that we've used as, first of all, our ranch work truck. But, you know, we kind of did the work with it. And so then we thought, well, let's convert it into an overlanding rig. And so Andre and David and Alex are driving down to El Camino del Diablo.
The road of the devil.
That's right. It's supposed to be one of the most remote roads in America. It runs along the southern border of Arizona with Mexico. And they're going to see how they can survive with Frank.
That's right.
You know who Frank is?
Yeah, Frank is the weenie dog.
Yeah, he's Alex's.
He's an awesome little dog.
Yeah. So the 4 of them have hit the road. They started in Moab today. So they went and did a shakedown run. And the interesting thing about the shakedown run is they were not just taking the truck. You know what else they're taking?
Frank, the weenie dog.
No, they're taking Andre's Bohunka.
Oh, that's right. They brought the Buhunka.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, that's his loaf of bread truck directly from the Soviet Union. And it has been modified, and it's a bit of an off-roading van thing. A little bit bigger than like the old school Volkswagen vans, but smaller than, say, a small Chevy van from the 70s. And he adores it, and I've driven it. It's fun. It's a weird vehicle.
So David built out the interior so he could live in it.
Ah, okay.
So David and Alex are going to live in the Ram because we did put a kind of a camper on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sort of, kind of.
Well, it's an Aluma
Alucab.
Alucab. That's
Yeah.
it.
So it's got like a downstairs and an upstairs. So Frank is going to live, I guess, downstairs with Alex or camp, and then maybe David's downstairs and Alex is upstairs, and then Andre's going to be camping in the Buhunka. And they took him up Hurrah Pass in Moab today to give him a shakedown. I was just talking to Andre, and apparently the Buhunka almost lost a wheel. He forgot to torque down the bolts that hold the wheel down. So they caught it just in time because nothing like trying to recover a Buhunka. By the way, that means like bread basket or bread van or
a loaf of bread.
loaf of bread. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a loaf of bread, just the way it's shaped. Loaf of Russian bread. So it's small, hard to eat, and very difficult to digest. So here's the good part about all that. First of all, Andre is so anal retentive about everything. I'm going to be making fun of him. This is going to go like for 2 or 3 years. I'm going to remind him whenever he gets into a vehicle, hey, you might want to check those lug nuts. It's going to be great.
So
I'm going to use it.
El Camino del Diablo is 120 miles of like dirt and off-roadingness.
And there's nothing else there.
Nothing else there.
Nothing else
Except a lot of border agents.
There's a lot of border agents. I suggested to Andre that he could make some extra dough doing certain things, but he won't do it.
I think it either ends or starts at Yuma, depending which way you go.
Yeah, it depends on the direction you're going.
So you think that the van will make 120 miles of hard off-roading? I'm sure the Ram will do it. But will the van do it?
I'm really glad that he has sleeping quarters inside, just in case he has to sleep, because you cannot get cell reception there unless you're using, even a satellite phone is questionable in that area. It's a big blacked out zone, specifically because there's nothing there. There are no towers. There's no electricity. There's no towns. There might be some weird desert dweller who has some motorhome hidden in the bush, but for the most part, nobody's there.
So it'll either be a romp in the desert or it'll be a recovery in the desert. Either way, I think it'll be an interesting video. So
Yeah,
be sure to
tuned.
stay tuned for that. And then it gets even better. The manufacturers use a stretch of Arizona highway called Davis Dam.
Oh, yeah, that's for doing the testing for going uphill.
Yeah, basically toe testing. It's the steepest grade. It gets hot in the summer. And so Andre, of course, we do the Ike. But Andre has always wanted to go and do a video and try to test what it would be like to tow up Davis Dam. And because they didn't want to spend 3 weeks driving down to, actually I don't know if he's got like permanent plates for that Buhunka, but anyway, I think driving it all the way to Arizona from Colorado, which is 1,000 miles, would have been very interesting but very painful. They towed the Buhunka.
Yep, that's right. So they're really testing out the Cummins in that Ram.
So they'll have a vehicle to tow up Davis Dam.
They will, and a heavy one at that. That thing is not exactly what I'd call lightweight. Although, compared to our iconic Davis Dam, it's kind of a little wimpy, but, whatever. I mean, I have my own personal opinion about it.
So we published a video. Them basically, Andre was asking the question: did we ruin the Ram by basically getting it into an off-road vehicle configuration? Boy, that's a long way of saying we lifted it and put on 37s.
Yeah.
But it does hurt fuel economy and it does hurt towing. So we put that video out. Now they've got the shakedown video, and now they're going to have the El Camino del Diablo video, and then they're also going to be doing the Davis Dam video. So a lot of interesting content or videos coming up.
Andre is heading out for a high adventure.
I'm jealous. How about you?
No,
No?
I'm good.
You're
I'm
good?
Yeah,
You'd rather be here?
I mean, there's plenty of other things to be jealous over, and that's
with our snow and our cold.
It's not so bad. I love living in Colorado, so I mean, for me, I bring it on. I love it. I will say this:
Yeah.
I would have loved to have gone overseas to a lot of these trips that we haven't been invited to, but that's just me being a little bitter. I'm not going to get into details about it, though, Roman, except for certain companies, JLR. So the good news is that we still get plenty of vehicles, and in the very near future, we're going to be doing a lot of videos from Moab, Utah, because right around the corner, a little over a month away, the Easter Jeep Safari.
Yeah, I can't wait. That's always the highlight of my year. How about your year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's my Disneyland.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, that's going to be great. And we actually have a Jeep to take this year, which is cool.
Yeah, and I'm
JK, but still.
you guys are going to have fun because it's a little loud in there. And I'm going to be bringing the Santa Cruz with its new tires and test out the tires in some loose sand and have some fun. So we're going to have some interesting vehicles there.
All right, so as you guys know, we picked up the Ram TRX back in 2019. Was it right? Was it 2019?
I mean, the first day of 2019
Yeah, I think
or something like that.
The last day.
The last day of 2019. That's right.
I drove it back, and I fell in love with that truck.
It was a great truck.
Yeah, that Hemi supercharged, incredible supercharger whine. Incredible exhaust note.
But the whole setup, the suspension, the way it drove on the highway, it was just a fantastic, kind of lethargic truck that was just way too wide for a lot of the trails we put it on.
Yeah, and we kept it for a long time. We kept it for a year, as much as
more than a year, Roman.
Probably more than a year. Yeah, probably 2 years almost.
Over 18 months.
We took it to Moab for sure. We
lots.
towed with it.
Yeah.
We used it as a shop truck in a lot of ways. But it was time for it to go, and then we took that money from that one and we put it into the Hummer EV.
Yeah.
Which you hate.
I dislike a lot of it. I like the idea of it. I like the looks of it, and when it's going well, I kind of enjoy riding in it. But it's really let us down more than once, and it's just too heavy. It's just too bloody heavy for off-roading.
Yeah.
And that affects everything. That affects the way the suspension works, right? That affects the way it handles on a trail. If that thing was...
About 9,500 pounds.
Yeah. It's too bloody heavy. So that is one of my real issues with it. I know you guys are watching this and going, Nathan, you're one to talk. I get it. But in all honesty, out of all the off-roading I've done, and I've done a lot of it, one of the things I've learned from one of the off-road gurus himself is that lightness counts. It matters.
It counts in everything.
For every type of driving. So
As you can tell by us, we take it seriously.
We really do.
We do, yeah. And our wives remind us of that every day.
Every day. Oh my God, yeah.
But so we got the Hummer EV, and about a week ago we got the Raptor R. So we've done now all three hyper trucks, I guess. If you consider like a Tremor to be a super truck or super trucks, whatever you want to call it.
And we even had the closest thing that Chevrolet had, which was the ZR2 Silverado. We had that for a little while. And that was a great truck too, but it's not quite up there in the pool of these trucks in terms of it doesn't have the power to compete with them. It's not as fast and as burly. It is as, if not more, off-road capable than all these trucks, though. I will say that.
All right, so let's talk about all the numbers, and you guys can decide what truck is right for you. We're going to give you, like I say, a buyer's review, even though I think all three of these things are pretty hard to... I think TRX is gettable because it's been out the longest.
It's actually the least expensive still.
It is, but they have that new Havoc edition, that bright yellow one.
It looks kind of cool.
I want to say that's 100 plus. It's definitely 100 plus.
I think so.
Yeah. They do special editions, and of course the Raptor R is over 100. And let's start with those two because they obviously directly compete against each other. They're, 700 horsepower Raptor R, 702 horsepower TRX. They benchmark that, but that does not tell the entire tale because the Raptor R is aluminum.
Yeah, the body of the Raptor R, just like other Ford F-150 products, a majority of the skin is made out of aluminum. And as such, its weight savings is around 500 pounds.
Which is a big deal.
Well, that's a huge deal.
That's a huge deal.
That's me and Cole, one of our videographers, essentially. That's 2 passengers. Or for those of you who make fun of Americans, that's 1.5 passengers. The real thing is it does affect the performance in more ways than one. Off the line in terms of its revving, everything that the Raptor R does, it's more spry. It has a lot more juice in its step, so to speak. But it also rides a lot different than the TRX. They're very different in terms of their personalities.
Yeah, so obviously the Raptor R is the top dog Raptor. It's the 3rd generation. Remember we drove the very first one? We just did a video.
Yeah, we had that for a while. That was a good old truck, wasn't it?
6.4 liter, 400 horsepower.
Yeah, it got crap mileage, but they all do. And it was really, really reliable. We had no problems with it, if I recall. We drove across country.
And in the 2nd generation, Ford said, no V8 for you, which did not make the faithful happy, right? Because they were 2 V8s. There was a 6.2 and a 5.4 in the 1st gen. But 2nd gen, it went all EcoBoost. And that's where kind of the gnashing of teeth started with the Raptor fans, because a V6 just does not sound as good as a V8.
Yeah, even though
they did a lot of tuning magic.
Yeah, and progressively the Raptor with the EcoBoost went up to the high output EcoBoost, and it's bloody fast. It's a really, really good powertrain, but it doesn't sound or feel as interesting or fun. Oh, as rewarding, I would say, especially if you're into V8s, as big V8 sounds. And also, there's something to be said about people out there who really believe that a V8 is the proper engine for a truck for various reasons in terms of longevity or the overall size, the build, whatever. And what's interesting is I thought that Ford, because we heard the rumors, that Ford would consider a V8 in the future. We thought, okay, it's got to be the Coyote. They're going to supercharge the Coyote. That's their 5-liter V8, which is a really, really good V8, right? No, they went a completely different direction.
Yeah, so they took the powertrain, the motor out of the GT500 Mustang.
Essentially, yeah.
Essentially, the supercharged 5.3, 5.2, one of those two, and transplanted it into the Raptor R and created a direct competitor to the TRX.
Right. Now, they made several adjustments to it. One of the things that
they detuned it a little bit. I think it's 760.
Well, they wanted to make sure that it is prepared for truck duty. Remember, it's lugging around a lot more weight, and it has to deal with torque issues in a very different way than the Mustang did. Plus, it has to distribute power to 4 wheels. Everything about that powertrain had to actually be changed, so it's related to the engine from the GT500, but it's not the same one. It's not like they inked it out and just threw it in there. 10-speed automatic transmission, and it does have a very beefy suspension system as well.
Yeah, so let's kind of talk about the differences and what we like and what we don't like about each one. How about that?
Absolutely.
And then before we get to the Hummer EV, because that's a whole different beast.
It is.
More horsepower.
Well, yeah.
That's 1,000.
Yeah.
Anyway, so first, the biggest difference between the TRX and the Raptor R is the TRX comes from the factory on 35s, whereas the Raptor R comes on 37s. And that's a big deal.
It is. And for those of you who think, well, they just simply pumped up the tires and put larger ones on there. No, they actually had to redo the entire rear suspension on the Raptor R and also the Raptor 37. Essentially, they're the same in the back. And in order just to accompany those tires and actually allow them to go in there and still have an effective suspension system, the TRX comes with smaller tires, the 35s. And it's, there's 2 different schools of thought out there. Those tires on the Raptor are heavier. They're bigger. So there's more rolling mass that you have to power up. And at the same time, that is better for off-roading in terms of being able to get good ground clearance and airing down and everything else. So 2 different schools of thought in terms of performance versus off-roading and everything else.
So I think the winner there, and I'm going to just grade this based on the fact that, yesterday's 35s are today's 37s, which means tomorrow's 39s.
They're going to go to 40 soon.
It's just been like this arms race. But the bigger tire is a better tire because it gives you more ground clearance. It gives you more sidewall. It gives you just a better look, I think. You can go too big, but if you ever seen like a Bigfoot truck, it would be hard to go too big on a wheel and tire combination.
Yeah, and there's a lot of off-roaders out there who are in different schools in terms of how much tire do you actually need. and how much sidewall do you want and everything else. And we get that because if you're running through a desert and you air down a certain amount, that's one thing. But if you're rock crawling, it's actually very different. So those are things to keep in mind. Now, I will say that in terms of looks, I still think, this is personal opinion, I like the looks of the TRX a little bit better than the Ford Raptor R, and I have one reason for that.
Yeah, what's that? Hood scoop?
No, not just, no. The Raptor R doesn't look that much different than a regular Raptor.
Yeah, I couldn't.
And for all the money?
I couldn't agree more. So we've got this giant sticker with a bunch of V8s right on it. And
Yeah, they're like micro V8s.
yeah, the little tiny ones. And there's one.
Well, they're just to say 8, don't they?
8, yeah. And then there's one that says V8.
Yeah.
And it's got this kind of funky piece of plastic in the hood, which is kind of overwrought, that is different. And then the R in Raptor is red. So that's how you know. On the sticker on the side of the truck, wherever you see the word Raptor, it's got a red R.
Yeah.
And that's really in the 37s, but you can get a Raptor 37
Exactly.
with 37s. But you're right. The one lesson I've taken away from driving it now for about a week is that people don't realize that it's a Raptor R. They hear the difference.
They
but
hear the
don't
difference
see
for
the
sure.
difference.
Oh, the exhaust note in that is beautiful. Whereas in the TRX, if you were to look at a Ram Rebel,
Oh, yeah,
and then
immediately.
you look at next to it at the TRX is very, very different. I think. Now, this is just, it's aesthetics. And so that's obviously, it's all about your taste. I'm sure some of you guys are going to go, no, you're all wrong. Okay. This is just my own personal opinion. But
I'm with you. So
yeah.
1 point to Raptor R for bigger tires, but 1 point to TRX for better styling.
Yeah. Okay. There it is.
So,
Yeah.
so I think we're tied up right now. We'll kind of keep score for you.
Okay.
Now let's talk about the next big difference, which of course is suspension. I mean, they're kind of tied. We could talk about the engine and how it performs, but we'll talk about that. But they're both, 7 horsepower, 7 horsepower. So they're kind of tied, but we can talk about the difference in terms of drive feel. But they definitely have different suspension. So the Raptor R comes with Fox active suspension. The TRX comes with Bilstein active suspension.
Right.
Now, I don't know, unfortunately, which one's better because as far as I can tell, I've only taken the Raptor R putting around town and we drag raced it, but we have not really off-roaded it. So until we off-road it, it's going to be really hard to tell which of those two setups is better.
Yeah, Andre and I have talked about that, and Andre actually has had hands-on experience.
He has. He's actually done more off-roading in the Raptor. He went on the program.
Oh, yeah, he did.
So what did he say?
He said that they're very similar in terms of their suspension setup, but that the Raptor R is lighter, and you can tell. You can tell just by throwing it through the dunes and pushing it through corners and everything else that the Raptor R is a little lighter on its toes. And then I countered, because I've taken the TRX off-road a lot, and I feel that just from the gut, and I've only ridden the Raptor R a little bit, that the TRX might have a slightly better ride. It might have a slightly better ride, but they're really close.
So you can adjust the suspension
Yes.
on all of them, right? So you can go kind of 70s American car squishy to, desert runner, sorted or firm based on the suspension setting. The Raptor R, unlike the TRX, does allow you to change the engine note, which is cool.
Yes, and
it's got baffles in the exhaust.
And it's for real.
It's for real, yes.
Yeah, it really works.
There's quiet, which is like a regular EcoBoost.
Yeah, it's not that loud. You can tell it's a V8, but it's really very quiet.
Then there's normal.
Which is nice.
Which is nice and burbly. That would be kind of the same as the TRX. Then there's Sport, which takes it to the next level. And then there's Baja, which is when you put it in Baja mode, it gives you a little warning, off-road use only. It's loud.
Yeah, you want to tear your shirt open and pound your chest when you hear that. No, it's about the best exhaust note I've ever heard in a truck. And the TRX used to be number one. The thing about the TRX, though, the way that Hemi's set up, you can't rev it. It doesn't like to rev a lot. It goes up to about, 4,000 RPM or something like that. This thing in the Raptor, 6,000 RPM. It's just like screams. It's a banshee. It's angry. And it's a lot angrier than the TRX. So the TRX is a little bit more relaxed. It's kind of the Matthew McConaughey of trucks in that respect, compared to the Raptor R, which is, Steve Buscemi after, hitting a couple heavy caffeine drinks.
And other big difference is there's virtually no supercharger whine on the Raptor R.
Not compared to the TRX.
Yeah, the TRX is all supercharger whine. You get
really
both induction note and you get exhaust note.
Yeah.
So if you love that kind of like that high squealy supercharger as it spins up, you're going to get a lot of that in the Hellcat powertrain.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. So they're very different personalities, temperaments.
Yeah. And I don't know if they actually enhance the sound They do it on the EcoBoost in the Raptor,
I
but
don't-
I don't think they do it in the
I
are so
agree with you.
loud.
I do not think they do. I think it's just the baffles that do it. They don't need to. They don't need to, augment the noise.
But I think I got to give it to the Raptor R on this one. Even though I love the TRX, I'll give it to it because you can decide no exhaust note to wake your neighbors and really piss them off exhaust note.
I would constantly have it on Baja. I would agree with you though. The Ford is, they looked at the playbook that TRX was using and they wanted to one up the TRX. It's that simple.
I agree. So let's just stop for a sec for a word from our sponsors, people who pay for this podcast. Okay, we're back. So we got to give, I think I'm going to give it to the Raptor R an exhaust note. But I do love on the TRX, and all Hellcats do this, when you start it up, there's like a little squeak. You know what that is? I don't know if that's a flywheel thing, but there's like this little,
I know
when
exactly.
you first hear it, you think, oh, there's something loose under the, or maybe a heat shield is somehow, but it's not. It's part, and after a while, it becomes very characteristic of that powertrain, and you start to kind of love it.
Back in the 70s, Dodge had a specific starter sound that sounded like nobody else.
Yeah.
That was on their Slat 6, it was on 318s, it was on everything that they built. And only about 15 years ago, I think they got rid of that starter. And you guys who are into the old cars, I know you know what I'm talking about. And old Dodges sounded the same. And it's really cool because the TRX kind of has its own unique sound. And every single TRX I've been around, I know exactly what Roman's talking about. It has this really unique startup sound.
Like this quirky thing, if you've got some good friend or loved one where they have like a cowlick or they have a twitch or they have some kind of
fake leg.
I was thinking more like beauty mark.
Oh, okay.
It just becomes indicative of who they are and what they are.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, I'm not in love with either of them under the hood. So under the hood, if you open up the hood of the Raptor R, you'll actually see the engine. So
Yeah.
there's like a little, metal. Well, it's hard to describe. I mean, go to alltfl.com and check it out. If you open up the hood of the TRX, you just get a bunch of plastic.
You have plastic. You have like a shield over the engine.
One is like the engine is way back and kind of it says I forget what it says, GT Raptor R or something on the Raptor R, but it's not impressive. Like you open up an AMG Mercedes and you see the headers and you see the the turbos if they're in the V, right? None of that. It's all kind of buried and you just see battery and radiators and a lot of peripheries, but not a lot of engine. And I think that's because they put it down inside the truck
as much as they could.
As they could to keep the center of gravity low.
Yeah, and both the engineers for the Raptor R and for the TRX really had their hands full because you're putting in a fire-breathing powertrain in something that has to be driven every day. And every day, like a daily driver, and at the same time it has to be beaten up on the trail. So they had to do things like put in these little engine covers that would help dissipate a little bit of heat and help suck up some of the noise. There's real reasons for that. I've talked to engineers because I used to make fun of it. Some of these engine covers in some of these cars are ridiculous, and we used to yank them off at TFL back in the day. But they're there for their reason. I mean, they wouldn't put them there otherwise because they don't want to spend extra money on something. The whole point of this is to get the return on their investment and get you to buy the vehicle.
Now, so I'm going to give both of them, and I guess I don't know. They're both about the same in my mind. None of them blows me away. So they're tied there if you're keeping score. Now the next one that we can talk about, and this is an easy one as well, is fuel economy. So I when we first got the Raptor R, it was showing 9. Now that I've been driving it a while, I just drove to Fort Collins and back to do a little bit of drag racing. It's getting 12. TRX got 12 all day long. I think they're almost identical in fuel economy.
I would say they're really close.
Yeah,
and it's interesting because once you start breaking them in, the TRX really performed about the same for the entire time we had it. And it was reliable in that respect because we just knew, okay, we're going to get crap mileage the entire time. They both require super unleaded, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so they're an arm and a leg to fill up. It's probably, about $100 and change to fill up the Raptor?
I just filled it up and it was down to about probably a third, and it was $78 at Sam's Club.
Yeah.
So I bet you it would be 100 if you
the regular pump.
If it was completely empty.
Yeah.
Especially now the gas is starting to claw its way.
It's starting to
back
climb back a bit too. Yeah. It's just how it is.
All right. So let's talk about entry level. So when we bought our TRX, it was the cheapest TRX you could buy. So it was a TR1.
77?
It was 77.
Yeah.
The Raptor R only comes with, I want to say, one option. That's a sunroof.
Yeah, I think the sunroof, but there's a couple other
you could do
little
redliner,
things,
which we should have done.
Yeah.
So, but it comes in at about 110.
Yeah.
Ish.
110.
But while the TRX was initially cheaper, they've worked their way up. So
Yes.
now you'll easily find a TRX, not in the 70s, but
in the 80s, well into
90s.
Yeah, I believe you are still in the 80s for your absolute base model, which is significantly less than the Raptor R. However, there's something to be said about the Raptor R, and one thing that Ford mentioned as well. The Raptor R comes with almost everything right out of the box, whereas in the TRX, if you get the base model, so to speak, then you...
Yeah, like it drove Tommy crazy that didn't have like proximity control for the key, right? Where you had to actually unlock it manually. You couldn't just walk up and open it.
Right, little things like that. But there's a lot of kit that you get with the Ford that you don't get with the Ram. And the point is, and Andre made this point before, if you get all the stuff that the Raptor R has on the Ram, the prices would be much, much closer.
I still think the Raptor R is more expensive, but you might get a little bit more in terms of its options. So one of the things that we didn't get, which we should have gotten, but because of chip shortage was deleted, was a heated steering wheel.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was weird,
Yeah, but that's just part of the deal.
But one of the things we did get, which the TRX doesn't have in terms of luxuries, is a speaker in the headset, in the headrest. Or speakers in both the headrests. That's kind of crazy, huh? B&O.
Yeah, it's. I would rather hear the engine note than just hear music. I mean, come on. Speakers in the head. Okay, it's kind of a gimmick, is my point.
So let's talk about the interiors of both of them. They're both really nice.
I'll tell you right now who I would choose. There's no debate.
But the Raptor R has Recaros, so if you're a fan of Recaros, those are Recaros.
Yeah.
And it also has that feature where you can push a button and the shifter folds into the console.
I hate that.
And then you can open up the armrest and turn it into like a workspace.
A great idea, scares the crap out of me as a truck owner.
Why does it scare you?
Because that is a full fly-by-wire system. Imagine if it decided not to come out one day.
Sure.
Imagine if the servo broke. That makes it go up and down.
But I'm sure that the TRX is also
No,
fly by
the
wire.
TRX, no, but it doesn't retract.
No, it doesn't retract, but
It's
there's
there.
But there's no physical cable.
As far as I know, there's not.
Right.
No,
it's just a big.
It's the old 8-speed essentially that they use. Well, it's an updated one, but I'll tell you right now, the interiors, without a doubt, still the Ram.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think the Ram, even on the lower trim that we had they were more comfortable seats. They really felt like I was sitting on a sofa for driving.
They were
that thing
definitely
around.
more lounge-like.
Yes. The Raptors seats are perfectly good. I mean, especially for sport people. But if you're going cross country, if you're doing a lot of driving, daily driving, I think that the TRX not only has a more comfortable interior, it's a little bit nicer to look at. That's my own opinion. Once again,
I think materials-wise, I don't know. It's hard to compare because, like I said, the one we had was a base one.
Yeah.
So, like the Raptor R, one of the things you get is like carbon fiber. I think it's real carbon fiber instead of fake carbon fiber this time. I bet you it's real.
It won't make a damn bit of difference of putting carbon fiber in a truck. Come on, it doesn't make a difference.
And then in terms of infotainment, you've got the latest version of Ford Sync, which actually works pretty well. But then you had the latest version of Uconnect, and they both were big screens. One is vertical, one is horizontally.
I actually like Ford Screen better.
Do you really? Okay.
Yeah, I like Ford Screen better, but I like the overall setup of the TRX better.
The one thing I will give it to Ford is the TRX had this integrated screen that had some of the controls for the HVAC as part of the screen, whereas Ford completely
hard
separates
switches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that. So
I'll give that to Ford. Yeah.
So like you have a heated seat and a cooled seat. It's not a virtual switch; it's a real switch.
So let's divide this into two things. In terms of comfort, I'm giving it to the TRX. In terms of usability, I think I'll give it to the Ford.
But they're both excellent.
They're both outstanding.
Yeah, you're not gonna go wrong with either
No,
one.
in fact, if you crawl into any other truck once you get out of those, in terms of interior, especially like a Toyota or a Nissan, they're just like, oh God, you guys failed. By comparison.
And they're both very roomy.
Roomy.
There's no downside in either one of the two. The one thing I will say is they both have kind of crappy back seat underneath. They're kind of plasticky. At some point,
you mean
right?
the storage area?
The storage area is kind of flimsy, and both have this kind of flimsy storage area. Like it's like you don't see it, so we're going to give you, the milk bottle plastic.
Yeah, well, it's the same stuff that's on their base models essentially.
Exactly.
But for the most part, you do know you're driving a relatively premium vehicle by being inside either of them, and that's nice. It's nice to have that type of separation. But once again, I'm going to take us back to the Raptor. There are some interior cues, especially on the seats, that really tell you that you're driving that. But once again, it doesn't feel that much different than, say, a regular Raptor in terms of the interior design.
No, I mean you've got the R's are red. Yeah. You've got the carbon fiber. I think the biggest difference is, of course, the engine note. Right. That's a huge difference.
That's the biggest difference.
I would say If you're a Raptor guy or gal, I would say, the fact that comes at a $30,000 premium, which it basically does,
Yeah.
For 2 cylinders, it's probably worth it. Actually, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think it's worth it because as much as powerful as that 6-cylinder and as Ford worked its magic to try to make it sound good, there's just some we like to say V8s and pickup trucks go together like peanut butter and jelly, and this is certainly the case in the Raptor. And let's face it, we'll get to the Hummer EV pretty soon because we're going all electric eventually. So this is going to be the last VA-powered super truck or hyper truck. And if you want that, this is it or nothing.
These two, yeah, for now. Although there are a lot of rumors that Chevrolet is quite serious about doing something extra.
They said they're going to do another V8.
They are doing another V8, and the question, of course, is whether or not they're going to goose what they currently have in the ZR2.
If they haven't done it by now, right, you can only get the 6.2.
You're saying that, but I said that about 2 years ago, that they were never going to do anything like the ZR2 Silverado, and they did. It's just they're way behind. And I'm not going to go into General Motors.
Look, I mean, they could have. No, I disagree, Nathan, and I'll tell you why. I think if General Motors had wanted to take that Corvette engine and slap it into a Silverado, they could have done it a long time ago.
No, they should have done the Blackwing engine, not the Corvette.
Or either one of those, right? Yeah. Either they could have taken the C7 engine, or they could have taken the Blackwing and stuck it in a Silverado. I think if they had done that, they would have had like a wait out the door, around the block, and down the street into the next county.
I'm not going to disagree with that part. My part is that they are producing vehicles that we're not expecting. It's just they're really slow at it. And for instance, we recently had Andre go out and drive the Chevy Colorados. About 2 years ago, we had no idea that they were going this direction with those trucks. In fact, at one point, we thought they might discontinue them. I think that they're sort of stretching things out, and they are looking at the competition. They are looking at the numbers, and they're seeing that Ford and Ram are selling a lot of these super hyper trucks. And theirs pales in comparison when it comes to powertrain. So it is possible, I think, for them to upgrade and go to another level with that ZR2. I really do hope they do, because that truck deserves a more powerful engine, as good as that engine is. But that's once again, they're just slow. They're kind of laggy is the only way I can put it. And speaking of that, let's move on to the Hummer, because that really...
No, we're not done.
Oh, we're not done? Okay.
No, we haven't hit the 2 major parts.
Okay.
Actually 3. So I'll go down in order. First of all, for being the most expensive Raptor R, interestingly, you can't get Blue Cruise.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, actually, I'm fine with that too.
I hate Blue Cruise.
I was using
really don't like it.
Super Cruise on the Hummer EV.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of nowhere in Utah coming back from Moab, right? On I-80? No, I-70. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? There's just nothing. You know what that. It's 80 miles an hour. You'll see it. You'll pass or you'll be passed by a semi-truck every 10 minutes maybe a Subaru or two, nothing. And Super Cruise just kept turning off just like randomly. Just like, oh, nope, I'm done. Nope. And this is straight. We're not going up a hill or around a corner or down a hill.
Dead straight.
Dead straight. It just turns itself off without warning. And I'm like, at that point, or it yells at you, keep your eyes on the road, like you're looking around.
Now he's referring to Super Cruise.
Right, not Blue Cruise.
Yeah.
But Blue Cruise is the same thing. So
Blue Cruise is similar,
GM,
and actually,
Blue Cruise is Ford, Super Cruise is GM.
I prefer Super Cruise over Blue Cruise because Blue Cruise forces you to drive the way it tells you to drive, as opposed to Super Cruise, which kind of sort of adapts. But both of them have that problem of just basically saying, "Yeah, I'm done."
Or the other problem they have is they nanny you, right?
That's what Blue Cruise
worse.
does, which is it does it more than Super Cruise.
Keep your hands on the wheel. Keep your eyes on the road. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well,
let me drive.
I drove the Ioniq 5 cross country,
yeah.
And I used their system,
right?
And it worked fantastic, except it beeped a lot. I couldn't quite get all the beeps out of it, and in terms of keeping you in the lane and doing what it's supposed to do, it did fine. And I didn't need all that extra stuff that the Blues Cruise and Super Cruise has. They're just, I think, kind of unnecessary. I don't like the idea of completely eliminating the driver from the driving experience. I just like the idea of, yeah, you can look away for a second, or you can take your hands off the wheel for a second, and it's not going to completely freak out.
So you know, this is interesting. Who do you think is going to have who has the very first Level 3 eyes off the road, hands off the wheel autonomous system right now in America?
Who has it?
Yeah, who has it?
Well, Tesla kind of had it.
Nope, that's bullshit. Sorry, bull crap.
Pucky.
Actually, Mercedes. Mercedes was the first one in certain states. I think it's Nevada, California, and a few others, where they can go under 45 miles an hour, under certain conditions, hands off, eyes off the road. Like even with full self-driving, you have to monitor the road and you have to keep yourself right. Whereas Mercedes says, nope, it's eyes off, hands off in certain conditions.
In certain, I guarantee you that's probably in a state like Nevada or
It is
Utah.
Nevada,
It's not in Colorado, and it's not going to be in Northern California or any other snow state. One of the problems with all of these systems is that they still cannot cope with inclement weather, especially snow and mud. And I've had
rain.
Those systems, even
And
rain
sleet.
in some cases.
Fog.
It cakes up or obscures a lot of the sensors that are needed, and that has not been solved yet. And as much as Elon can say whatever he wants, all these other guys can say whatever they want. But until I see a vehicle like that being able to go full autonomous in an Alaskan winter, I don't buy it. So,
all right. So let's talk
soapbox.
about the last two, which is hauling and towing. Now, these are not great hauling and towing trucks. And I was going to say, I don't even know what the tow rating is of the Raptor R because they changed it on their website, apparently. So there's like a discrepancy between what they say it is, which I think is like around 8,000, which is the same as the TRX, or 81. Like one was 100 more. But now Andre did some research, went and put it in, and for some reason, like their literature says like 8, but the website says like 7,700. So I don't know what the tow rating is. Let's just say they're both fine for towing if you have a boat, if you have
a light boat,
a light boat, if you have a trailer. But these are not these are like somewhere in between a mid-sized truck and a full-size truck.
Well, we're going to be taking the Raptor R on an Ike Gauntlet. There's no doubt about it. It needs to go up there. It needs to go up with our resident expert on trucks. And the other thing is that the Raptor R and the TRX are very different trucks in terms of their overall weight, which may make a difference in terms of how they tow. A lightweight truck towing a heavy trailer versus a heavier truck towing a heavy trailer. Who knows which one will work? And it depends on their sensors and, of course, how their transmissions work and their brakes. So all of that is yet to be determined. But the funny thing is that they both have crap payload, and we know that. It's essentially the same type of payload numbers that you can get on small and mid-sized pickup trucks.
Yeah, and I think the reason for the pretty low tow numbers, which is always the limiter, is cooling, right? So the trucks have plenty of power. I think they even have plenty of brakes. I think the chassis is strong enough. So I have no doubt you could hook up 15,000 pounds to either a TRX or a Raptor and pull it. I'm not saying you could pull it safely. I'm not saying you'd want to pull it up or down the Ike Gauntlet, but you could do it. The question is, will they overheat? And maybe they will, because those V8s are putting out a lot of heat.
It's also suspensions. Those suspensions are built to absorb impacts
and not control load.
Right. And you don't buy this truck in order to pull a giant trailer or, haul a massive camper in the back. The purpose of this is
people do.
People do, but the purpose of this is to go off-road and then to bring your motorcycles with and then chase your motorcycles down when the idiots who are riding them fall off and hurt themselves.
But, I don't think people do that with Raptors or TRXs. So, like our rapper guy, Shane, I don't think he's ever gone off-road with his TRX, and he's a great guy. What he has done is he has pulled out the baffles in the exhaust, so now it's as loud as a Raptor R. But I think most guys and gals who have Raptors don't ever actually go off-road with them. Right?
Well, that's the same argument with Jeeps and almost any other off-road vehicle. It's the same argument.
But I would say more people use them actually as work trucks. I saw a Raptor, a second-gen Raptor the other day, with that full-on ladder setup.
In the back. So it's
like for painters or whoever uses that.
Working on a garage door or whatever.
Right. So people are using these as work trucks, but they just want the coolest work truck.
In some cases, that's true. In other cases, I know guys who actually are contractors, and they'll go off-road on the weekends. And they'll bring their snowmobiles or their quads or whatever. They can easily tow those. They'll go off-road, and then when they crash, which they often do, and they need to be pulled out of a really bad situation, the Raptor will come or the TRX will come and pull them out of that bad situation. That's the whole point of these trucks initially. But once again, when the engineers built these vehicles, they knew that they'd be used every day as work trucks as well. And that's the cool part about them. They can do everything.
All right, so here's my scale, the Roman mustache scale, okay?
The Roman mustache scale?
Yeah, this is, if you have a mustache, then you got yourself an FX4 pickup truck. Just a regular old mustache.
Okay.
Goatee, you work up to a Tremor.
Okay.
Raptor, full-on beard. And Raptor R, you're the dude with that mountain man beard that goes down to your belly.
Okay. Interesting points. I'm wondering if you mixed some acid with your Geritol this morning. What a comparison. And I know guys who have...
You disagree with that?
I totally do, because there's guys out there with mountain man beards, and they're driving, old Honda CRXs. There's no.
Wait. Are you saying that like a guy with?
It's not about looks. It's about your mental
I'm
attitude.
being stereotypical here, and I'm
Yes,
being
you
funny.
are.
So hold your emails and your comments. I'm joking. I'm not being serious.
Please fire them his way.
How about a man bun?
Oh no! So now you know you got my weakness. How much the only people who should have man buns are samurai, and actual samurai who let it. Okay, but if you have a man bun, please send your compliments to me. I'll take that. I'll take those on. No, but seriously, there is an image though with these trucks, and that's a good point. In fact, they have swagger. They really have swagger. And once again, I'm going to give, if you rated swagger, which I definitely would rate, I'd give it to the TRX all the time in terms of looks, but I'd give it to the Raptor in terms of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sound of that Raptor R is just outstanding. It's such a great time to be alive, to see rich people being able to buy these things and have fun with them while you guys get to at least listen to them. So congrats. And by the way, I'm right there with you.
So right now, I'm going to give, and this is a weird reason to do it, but I'm going to give the Raptor R the winner, and it has nothing to do with anything that we have discussed, except for the very last thing that you discussed, and that is that it is much harder to get than the TRX. So in the world of pecking order, even though it doesn't scream Raptor R, it's still, at least for now, and this will of course change because Ford and Ram don't make money by not selling trucks, but right now they're the much more limited, the much more unattainium truck. So I think if you use that as a measure for people who are buying it, because that is a measure that people use to buy them.
Sure.
Right? You're going to be the only one on the block or in your city or in your town to have a Raptor R.
Yeah, you pretty much had to order one from the very first day or the very first minute of ordering, and then it really helps if you know a dealer personally in order to get one of these Raptor Rs. However, I can reverse time back to 2019, and that was the same thing you could have said about the TRX when it came out. The TRX has been out for over 3 years now.
Yeah, and there's a lot more of them out there. They
Exactly,
built a lot more.
and also there's more on the lots to get, and they're easier to get.
What is astounding, and we have to move over to the Hummer EV pretty soon because I did want to get to that one as well. I'm checking my time here. We got like 20 minutes left.
Yeah,
What is astounding is that break. Okay, we're back.
You are back.
Yeah, what is astounding is that they didn't actually slam the red eye.
No,
Maybe they still will. I mean, so if you want to now kind of one up Ford, if you're Ram, what you do is you go and stick the red eye engine, right, which is 800 horsepower, into the truck, which they could.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's the same.
Well, there's tuners out there cranking easily 1,000 horsepower.
And it might be a question of cooling again.
I would say that's part of it. And also, there's certain EPA things that they have to contend with. I do know that Ram is kind of like, let's get it all done now. Actually, a lot of Dodge is like, here's the good stuff, guys. Here's all the big V8s we can produce because we got to walk away from them. And it's a mandate they have to follow. So, get them while you can, essentially, right?
Right. All right. So let's move on. So if our criteria has become unobtainiumism in terms of like flexing, which this is what this is in a lot of ways, then the Hummer EV has got to be actually above the Raptor because even though they started building them like a year ago, they're dribbling these things out for whatever reason.
12,000, 15,000 made, something like that?
No, like 1,200, dude.
Is it 1,200?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, yeah.
I thought it was a lot higher than that.
No. I think it's like 1,000 or 2 that they've built so far at most. And that has to do with like GM trying to ramp up, I suspect, battery production and, putting batteries in vehicles because it's got such a large battery, 220 kilowatt hours, that, you could build like 5 bolts for one Hummer EV.
You can do 6 or 7 of my Nissan Leafs with that battery.
So let's talk about the Hummer EV, which we've had now for almost 5 months, and I think it's going to be very soon time to sell it, to move it on. And to me, I love that truck. I really enjoy driving it. It's my bottom line is it's the best off-road truck if you're never going to go off-road.
That's a good point.
But I really enjoy it. I think the GM just really, they called it their moonshot, and they did, because let's talk about the tech. So first and foremost, of course, it's all electric.
Yep.
And unlike Ford, they actually didn't under-battery it. They gave it enough battery, and they created a bespoke or a brand new platform for it, which is now going to hopefully, be used for the Silverado EV.
A similar platform,
right.
Yes.
So, they kind of outdid the TRX and the Raptor R because first and foremost, let's talk about the tech. So whether you like electric motors or not, it has 3 of them. It also has 1,000 horsepower, which is 300 more than the other 2. So now you're like another level above, and you're only $112,000. I say that only with air quotes, but still, you're only, not a lot more than the Raptor R.
Yeah, that's true.
You get really cool stuff like four-wheel steering.
Which works really well when it works.
When it works, crab mode and, air suspension is really great.
When it works, it's great.
When it works, it's great. You also get, like a Wrangler and a Bronco, a convertible. You get four solar panels.
The look and engineering of the look and that type of function is fantastic. I give it up to General Motors for making a vehicle that really looks like the future of off-roading. Looks like the future of off-roading. I'm going to say that without air quotes, damn it, because that's how I feel. It has so much going for it, but then there's been some issues, but we'll get to that in a second.
You've got a frunk.
Yes, and it's usable.
You got onboard power to some extent.
But it's not up there with Fords.
It's not up there with Fords. You have kind of this really interesting interior, and you have an interesting size because it's really much smaller and much wider. It's not wider. It's about as wide as a Raptor R, but
it's as wide as a Raptor R.
But it's not. It's. I'd say it's a couple feet less. It's not as long.
Yeah.
So you get this almost unusable trunk, especially not trunk, unusable bed. I think it's 4.5 feet.
Yeah, it's the same length basically as mine in my little tiny Hyundai Santa Cruz, which is more than one third of the cost of that truck.
And you get 35s, but we upgraded ours to 37s.
Yeah, they do look pretty badass.
And we put there's no place to put a spare tire, so ours is in the bed, making the bed all but useless. You could probably put a mountain bike back there.
Yeah, with the tire, sure, you could put a mountain bike back there. Yeah,
not a motorcycle.
If you pulled the spare tire out of there, you could fit a small motorcycle in there. We actually have a new little Honda that the guys got that'll easily fit back there.
And then, of course, you have WTF mode, which is mind-blowingly quick. So we have drag raced the TRX
several times.
Yeah, so let's talk about which is quickest if you care about that. So the TRX is the slowest out of the three because it has the same
in a quarter mile it is.
Because it has the same horsepower. It runs like here at a Malibu sea level on a quarter mile, it's like 13.8 or 13.9. So, mid to upper 13s. I'll probably go a lot quicker if you're at sea level.
Yeah.
Then the Raptor R is about half a second quicker, so it'll run like 13s.
And I attribute that to weight, and it's just its overall setup. It just revs so much quicker.
Then the Hummer EV will do like 11.5.
All day long. Well, not all day long, until the battery gets too hot.
The problem is it 0 to 60, it's so quick that it reaches its top speed of, I want to say 106, and then the computer says no.
That's it.
And then the other trucks start to catch up.
Yeah.
But they don't catch up before the end of the quarter mile.
So, that's its cap. It won't go any faster
even with
that.
37s, it's like in the 3-second range.
Which was really cool, actually, being able to watch that. So we did a drag race. I got to shoot this with Andre. And when the Hummer was ready to drag race, it lowered itself to its lowest possible driving height. And sitting on those 37s, it just looked bizarre. It looked like some sort of toy car because it's just hunkered on them. Actually, you know what it looked like? It looked like the cars that they run in Dakar.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of just really big tires, but they're kind of close to the body. And that's because it got as low as possible. And then on Andre, it wasn't Andre, it was Case. Case's first launch, all four tires lost traction. 4-wheel burnout, and then this thing took off like a bat out of hell. With something that weighs so much, it's kind of a scary feel altogether. Now, with that being said...
So we just drag raced the Raptor R against...
And a TRX.
No, we just did it. You weren't here yesterday.
Oh, okay.
We were up there against the ZR1 Corvette.
Oh, yeah?
And I was first time I actually floored the Raptor R because I wanted to break it in. And that one's even funnier. So you brake torque it, you put in sport mode, right? And it kind of like it leans back almost.
Yeah.
Right? And then you let go of the brake, you floor it, and it's like a cheetah that sat on a cactus. It just kind of jumps in the air. And takes off.
It really launches. I was looking very closely when we were racing the TRX versus the Raptor R. I noticed we did a couple runs, and even though the guys had even launches, the Raptor R picks up its skirt and runs off a lot quicker than the TRX. And I think that's partially weight and the way they're geared. And also, honestly, these aren't drag racers. These are off-roaders. But nonetheless, the Raptor R, even off the line, it just goes.
So one other good thing about the Hummer EV, and like I said, we're putting it aside because it's its own thing.
It's its own thing.
And one other good thing about the Hummer EV is it does have the fastest charging. We've tested a lot of cars, but we've gotten it up to, I want to say, 368 kilowatts, which is, that's like 800 volt
speed.
architecture.
Yeah.
And you need it because it's got such a large battery pack.
Exactly.
Now, the biggest downside you mentioned is its weight. When we weighed ours, it's close to 9,500 pounds, and it just affects everything. So, like when you're launching it, it's a handful, dude. It is a handful because you got 9,500 pounds now, kind of hurling itself down the
It's
drag
a
strip.
lot of just dead mass moving.
And you can feel that weight. You can feel the tires fighting that weight. God help you if you got to go around a corner. It just wants to go straight.
Yeah.
And then off-road, it's even worse because, first and foremost, the air suspension, after a while, just gives up.
Yes.
Right, because it's so much weight, it's just I can't do this.
And now we're in the territory where I really dislike the vehicle. Everything you've mentioned up until now, I like. I like its tech. I like its look and all
And
that.
then the other thing that happens is it's got like regular and electronic lockers. They seem not to want to lock for whatever reason. We always have a hard time locking them, especially the front ones.
Yep.
I think that's the electronic one, or maybe it's the other way around. Anyway, they don't want to lock. And then the electronics start to get in the way of the driving performance, and things start to do things that you don't want them to do. They like turn off and turn on, and it just doesn't feel like it's fully baked when it comes to off-roading it. And when you start hitting bumps and when you start actually, putting pressure on pressure points, things break.
As futuristic as it looks and as all the tech is in it, it's still not ready for primetime off-road.
I agree, yeah.
If you want something, the most futuristic thing that can go off-road right now, I think personally, is the Jeep Wrangler 4xE. We've tested it. It can take on a Rubicon Trail. It can do it.
Here's a good example. We're air down. We're going up Red Cone in the Hummer EV, and we're like maybe at a 15 degree, maybe a little bit more, right? And you would think air down with all the torque in the world, all you do is just give it a little bit of breath on the throttle,
Right.
And all it did was like bury itself. Like all four tires spun in it because there's so much weight pulling you down.
All that gravity just pulls you straight down.
And just instead of actually going up the hill, it like starts spinning its tires and it creates four divots and you're like in the ground and you're like, I've never seen that happen in any other vehicle.
Yeah.
Which is mind-boggling.
And if you get it beached on a rock,
God help you, yeah.
Good luck getting someone to pull you off.
We tried to pull it off a rock with the Bronco. That 9,500 pounds going downhill. Maybe backwards you could do it.
Backwards, you might be able to do it, and then it keeps on going and keeps on going.
And then going down
kills
steep
everybody.
hills, you've got all that weight going down. That's
Exactly.
also terrifying.
Exactly.
But the four-wheel steering does make it
the
agile.
four-wheel steering is awesome.
So it's a mixed bag because the four-wheel steering, after you get to the top, close to the top of Red Cone, it gets very tree-lined and it's very tight. But you'd think the Raptor, there was a guy in Power Wagon going up there and he was really struggling, right, because trying to get between the trees. Hummer EV didn't care, but the weight when you're at the top of Red Cone coming down those 3 steps, oh my God, Tommy did that. I was so worried. I was ready to hook up like a rope to his rear bumper and
Just in case. The rope wouldn't hold it anyway, though. Yeah. Seriously.
And it's let's face it, the problem with all these, but especially that one, they're just too precious to off-road, especially that. It just feels like it's, I can see Ashton Kutcher driving his around Hollywood, right, feeling good about the fact that he's not using any gas, but I just can't see like people like seriously off-roading it because it's just too much money. And then there is that problem where you can't plug it into a tree, right? Most places where you go off-roading, and that includes Moab. I don't think Moab has one DC fast charger.
Yeah,
that's
but
broken.
it has a lot of level 2.
Yeah, but 230, whatever, 220.
Yeah, so you're stuck there for 3 days. That's fine. You're rich. You can afford it. You can just go to a hotel.
But like even when we went there, we had a plan. So I had to charge it in Grand Junction as fully as possible, and then I plugged it in overnight to a level 2. But I still only I had like 80% when I hit the trail. And it's not like you're going to show up there, do some off-roading, and then keep going. It's like you're going to show up there, do some off-roading, and then go plug it in. And that's because in Moab, like I said, there's one 50 kilowatt fast charger, which is barely, and that one's been broken for the last 2 years.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're going to be upgrading their systems soon. They've been doing it with some Jeep stuff recently. So we agree that it's a rich man's toy. It doesn't really make a lot of sense if you're serious about off-roading. You know who would be perfect for that?
Who?
J.R. Ewing. For those of you...
Yeah, but he was an all guy.
Yeah, he was, exactly. Just like you. So,
well, we were dating ourselves.
You ever seen Dallas? I think it's Dallas, right?
Yeah.
A rich oil baron, ironically, in Texas having something they really want to show off and then go and look at their rigs and occasionally, meet their accountant and have something that looks burly and manly, this is a perfect truck for that.
I think Ashton Kutcher is a perfect.
Why are you bringing him up?
Because he has one.
Oh, okay. It's a good reason to bring him up. All right, fair enough. I was wondering, are you just...
Yeah, he got one of the first ones.
I'm hip to his wife. She's hot, but I didn't care about him too much. All right, so the good news is that Ashton has one.
He was one of the first ones.
There's a lot of early adopters to electric
it's like the
vehicles.
Hollywood,
But you can't, it's a big fat vehicle. It is very, very wide. Not easy to get through your Tommy's In-N-Out drive-thru to get your vegan burger.
I don't see Kevin Costner in Yellowstone driving a Hummer EV.
Okay.
Do you?
He would drive a Power Wagon.
He would drive like a Ford F-350
No, he'd drive a Power
dually.
Wagon. He would drive a Power Wagon, Robin. Trust me on this.
Or Platinum.
He would drive a Power Wagon.
No.
Yes, he would.
Actually, he'd ride a horse.
Because
he's Kevin Costner.
But we don't like
he'd
horses.
He'd ride 2 horses.
You and I both don't like horses. We admit that. I'd rather eat them than ride
Dually
them.
horses. All right, so last question. We've done our comprehensive buyer review for 3 vehicles you can't get, or you have to have a lot of money to get. And we realize that, guys. We're having a little bit of fun with that.
Tongue in cheek with this whole thing, folks.
Yeah. All right, so you win the lottery tomorrow, and you get to go buy one, and you go down to Houston where there's some fancy schwancy dealership that actually has all 3 of them, which there probably are. Some bespoke dealership where they have.
Oh, I'm sure. They're in Hollywood. I know one right off the bat.
Right, and there's 3 of them, and they're all $50,000 over sticker, but you don't care because you just won $1 billion. Which one do you buy?
It depends on a couple things. First of all, equipment. How is the TRX equipped? Is it fully equipped?
It's a new Havoc. It's brand new, yellow, top of the line. It's got everything.
Yellow one?
Yeah.
I'd probably go for the TRX.
Okay.
The reason why is familiarity. That's it. The Raptor R I'm just not as familiar with. I also really am comfortable driving. I'm not trying to be just a shill for around because I love the Raptor R. It's fantastic. But for a day-to-day driver and the fact that I've driven the TRX quite a bit and I have a lot of familiarity with it, that's what would drive me to it. This is me being honest. However, I probably would say forget all 3.
All right. Well, fair enough. What would you get?
Lamborghini.
Okay. This is a truck show, you know that.
I know, but come on. If I'm in Texas and I want to be looked at, I want to drive.
This is what I would buy all 3. Might as well.
Why not? Well, technically speaking, you already have, Roman.
We have, but
not all at the same time.
Right, but we're not, this is business money. This is not Roman money, right?
No, I know.
This is money that's going to hopefully soon, like the Hummer EV we're about to sell. We're waiting 6 months because we need to move on to the next one.
We're going to trade it for a Corolla. You heard it here first.
Probably
the
not.
GR. Oh, I'd take that.
But buy all 3, and here's how I would use them. As my daily driver, Hummer EV.
Okay.
Right, zipping around town. Off-roader, TRX. Cross-country. Actually, no, let me go. Off-roader, Raptor R, cross-country, TRX.
I think that makes more sense.
That's how I would do it, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I won't do it because it's just my own attitude towards money. Even if I had billions, I'd only buy one of those and treat myself. But yeah, I'd get myself a Lamborghini. So
which one?
No, I really would get the TRX, I think. But the more time I spend with the Raptor, maybe I'd change my mind.
So I think that's the perfect garage. You get the Hummer EV for putting around town when you have to go to grocery shopping or whatever, picking the kids up because you've got the most flex there. Then if you want to go for that long cross-country drive and tow something, go for the TRX. And if you want to go bash the Baja landscape, go for the Raptor R. And we'll test all this. So
we will test this. We'll actually do some daily driving and some long distance.
We could come back. So for me, I've got this love-hate relationship with the Hummer EV. I love it because it's I like crazy vehicles, and that's the craziest vehicle we've ever actually owned by a long stretch. So I will be sad when it goes. But at the same time, it is very, very expensive and impractical. And I don't, the one thing I love about being an automotive journalist is we get to drive these really crazy cool vehicles, but we don't own them, so we don't have the, you know what I mean? We don't have like all that comes along with it.
Yeah, which is why we buy these long-term ones.
Have you seen that new TikTok craze or Instagram, Zeus coming in out of the Lamborghini?
No.
You haven't seen this dude?
No.
Really? This is what I'm talking about. You've never seen Zeus. It's like the hottest thing right now. It's this, I guess he's this French attorney, I'm guessing, who all they do is they have video of him.
Does he struggle to get in and out of each
No. He looks like Zeus. He does not struggle to get in and out of anything. Let me show you what he looks like. You'll see what I mean.
Sorry, folks. He loses track of where he is, time, and occasionally he yells at small animals. Okay, so there's Zeus.
Well, that's actually not a Lamborghini. That he's in a. Let me get another Zeus one.
Okay.
There's Zeus.
Okay, well, maybe you should show Zeus. Yeah, he actually has kind of got cool hair. I wish I had hair.
See?
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's
So he
him
just gets
getting-
into these things?
gets
Yeah.
in a
I'm sure
Lamborghini.
he owns, a nice paint company or something like that. Hey, and in this video, he actually has a Batmobile, right?
Yeah.
We recently did a bunch of videos at this car museum.
I could see you being Zeus.
Yeah, well, if I had hair, I definitely would try. And it was really cool because he actually had a recreated Batmobile and some other stuff and cars from Back to the Future. Really cool stuff. And those videos are going to be, I think, on Classic and on Car. So check those out. Also, alltfl.com.
Yeah. All right, guys, thanks for sticking with us. Let us, of course, know in the comments which of the three. Are we going to call them Hypertrucks, Nathan?
Yeah, I call them Hypertrucks.
Which of the three or would you say Raptor and TRX are super and
Either Super Trucks or Hypertrucks, either
Okay.
way.
Yeah,
They're just using the same type of battery.
which would you buy and why? Yeah, let us know, how much facial hair you have.
Crying out loud. See you guys next time.
See you next time. Ciao.